What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another video, and we have not looked at the Black Series in quite a while. So I thought we would take a look at everything that I found that was fairly interesting that sold recently within the Black Series line of Star Wars action figures. And some of the prices were actually pretty surprising. I was mostly surprised on the upper end of the scale, especially with some of the graded items. It does seem like there is some demand for certain Black Series figures, despite the kind of overall narrative that I think we can all agree on, that the Black Series seems to be struggling and doesn't really appeal to the vast majority of the modern Star Wars collectors these days. But based on some of these sales prices, you wouldn't know it. So I want to thank all of my Patreon supporters. You guys really allow this channel to happen in its current iteration. Patreon.com/actionfiguregrader is where you can go to sign up to get 24 hours early access to all of my videos. So let's take a look. It's kind of a wide assortment here. And the first one I've got is the Cantina Showdown set. This is such an awesome box set. At one point, I almost bought this. It was graded AFA 9.0 on the modern scale. And then I came to my senses. I will never, ever have the space for something like this. But I do love it. I just love the way it's kind of packaged. Everything about it just screams awesome. And this was a Toys R Us exclusive, which I did not know until I saw that sticker there on the box. But this one had some wear to the box, and that's one of the tricky things with some of these Black Series, especially if you're buying them and grading them yourself, is that the boxes have a lot of little weird corners that can get lots of dings and lots of rub to it, so it's tough to gauge what kind of shape the boxes are in. This one sold for 115 pounds, which is 140 bucks plus another 40 bucks shipping to the US. But a pretty awesome early box set that it's kind of a cool scene, and I just love the way Han Solo especially is kind of like sitting in that chair inside the cantina with Greedo there. So, I don't know, just a great looking box set I've always liked. Here's another one I do have in my collection. This is the SDCC exclusive from 2017. This is the Thrawn, Grand Admiral Thrawn exclusive that was only available at San Diego Comic-Con. Big box set that kind of opens up and has some of Thrawn's prized artifacts from various conquests over the years. And it's still the definitive Black Series Thrawn set. This is a good photo there. You can see it. Just an awesome set. I love it. I've got mine graded by AFA, opened up so you can see all the kind of stuff inside. But just a really cool box set. And the price is kind of all over the map depending on the condition. But this one sold for $170 plus $13.50 shipping. I've seen as high as $300, believe it or not. And again, this is a case where the box can get dinged up pretty easily just because of how large it is. Lots of scratches to the back of the box, as you can see on this one. But it really captures Grand Admiral Thrawn's personality in the books. And just that look on the front there, it's just an awesome set. So that's the cheapest I've seen fairly recently. Obviously, you can get some more damaged ones for maybe even a little bit less. But in general, for a kind of a near mint plus example, you're talking $200 plus, as high as 300 bucks for that SDCC Thrawn set. Next up, I want to talk about the Mandalorian, because there are a number of different Mandalorian data points that were very surprising on the upper end of the scale. This is kind of the first edition white box. I think this was a Target exclusive, but don't quote me on that. Number 94, but it comes in like this white box, and this is the first edition, premiere edition, as you can see there on the front of the box. And these can go for a pretty penny. This one was ungraded, but it kind of included like a protective box for it. And speaking of which, if you need any of those protective boxes, you can reach out to Case Shells. He's in the video description for every video. Tom Hogan over at Case Shells does a great job, and he's got a lot of these kind of protective cases for the Vintage Collection, the Black Series, G.I. Joe Classifieds, things like that. This one sold for $125 plus $6 shipping. So that one has definitely jumped up versus the suggested retail price. Likewise, I've got an AFA 85 example of the same one. This is a nice looking example that is, again, graded 85 with 3-tier grading there. 85, 85, 90 were the sub-scores, and it's labeled by AFA as the first edition Mandalorian. That one sold for $177.50. I thought that was a pretty good deal relative to the ungraded one that sold for $130. This one sold for about $190. And it's very, very expensive to grade Black Series figures. It costs about 75 bucks a pop to grade those. So not exactly cheap to grade these Black Series figures. So anyway, that one sold at auction on March 12th on 21 bids, $177.50 plus $13 shipping, so about 190 bucks. Next up is another one that was surprising. I didn't realize this Obi-Wan Kenobi Walgreens exclusive goes for so much money. It is a great looking figure, I'll say that. He looks great inside that armor with the cloth goods cape. But this is the clone commander Obi-Wan Kenobi, and apparently it was a Walgreens exclusive. So great looking figure, and that one sold for 75 bucks plus $12.55 shipping. And there's a lot of these kind of like early TVC, not this one, but early Black Series figures that are always in demand. And you know, this Anakin is a good example of this. 98 bucks for this one, despite some pretty heavy corner wear to it. But any of these orange line Black Series figures can set you back a pretty penny. I think I've got a graded one here coming up in a little while. But in general, those orange line, I used to have a big collection of these, and they've done nothing but go up in price. It just seems like those original issue Black Series figures continue to command pretty good money on the secondary market. That one's got the alternate head sculpt with the scar. It looks like he's got red eyes. That's what the difference is. But anyway, 98 bucks plus $10 shipping for that one. This is one that's kind of taken the opposite approach. This one was really expensive, right? You know, about 6 months after it came out. This was the SDCC exclusive 2019 Black Series with the foil logo, and this had the original kind of Kenner colors for Boba Fett. And I remember a number of these selling on Facebook for $300 to $400. It might have even gotten higher than that. But these have come way back down in price, probably because, you know, there's been more iterations. There's been so many repaints for Boba Fett over the last few years since this one came out. But this 2019 SDCC exclusive has definitely dropped a little bit in price. Great card art. Look at the card art on the back of that. I love the foil, along with that great image there with Vader and Lando. $122.50 took that home plus $10 shipping. Here's another one that sold. It looked to be in a little bit better condition. That one sold for $180 plus $6 shipping. So that gives you kind of a nice tight price range to aim for. But the days of $300 to $400 for this item are long gone. It's definitely a lot less expensive these days for this 40th anniversary 2019 SDCC Boba Fett. Now, speaking of ones that were surprisingly expensive, I originally was going to buy all of the Black Series Bad Batch figures from Big Bad Toy Store, I believe, and then I canceled it. I was like, there's no way I have room for this stuff. And now I'm wishing I had, because they have really gone up in price. This is Crosshair, and if you guys like the Bad Batch like I do, I still have not dug into the next season of Bad Batch. That's next on my list now that I'm caught up with Mando. But the Bad Batch Crosshair, I loved his character in season 1. This one sold for 81 bucks plus $10 shipping. Hunter is another one that's very, very pricey, surprisingly. I had no idea these had gotten so expensive. 90 bucks for this one on 3 bids. That closed on March 15th. And then here was another one that sold down in Australia for 100 bucks. So any of those Bad Batch figures, apparently, especially Crosshair and Hunter, you're going to be paying some big money for it. And now I wish I had bought them, because they do look great inside the packaging. There's something about the animated style figures that either in Black Series or in kind of a vintage collection 3 3/4 inch scale that really appeal to me. But that one really does look nice. Next up, I've got the whole Rebels lot. This is another one I was going to buy. I do have Zeb Aurelius. This one was an online exclusive with like Big Bad Toy Store, one of the online channels. That one I got as a gift for Christmas, but I missed out on the reissue of Sabine Wren, Ezra Bridger, and the rest of the Rebels crew. But I had these kind of pre-ordered, and then I canceled it. But they are very, very expensive now. $227.50 plus $20 shipping for the whole lot there. I would say my favorites of this batch are Chopper and Sabine Wren. They're just great looking figures. And in general, the Rebels team, I hope that they go through and make them in the 3 3/4 inch TVC line, because I just think that they're fantastic figures. And I think we probably will get them. You know, they'll probably be on Ahsoka card backs, because we already know that Ezra Bridger and Sabine Wren are coming for sure. Probably Chopper at a minimum. Eris Syndulla is probably coming. So I would think that we'll get some form or fashion, at least a few of these Rebels characters in the vintage collection. But anyway, this lot sold for about 250 bucks after shipping. A couple of, I think these were Walmart exclusives, don't quote me on that, but these are the Clone Wars packaging in the 6-inch scale for Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi. And great looking packaging here. I love the way they look inside, especially Kenobi. There's something about Kenobi and that armor that that really pops. But this this lot of 2 sold for $120 plus $15 shipping. So those have really gone up in price relative to their suggested retail price. Here was that orange line that was graded. This was an uncirculated 8.5 Princess Leia in her slave outfit. I was surprised that this one did not go higher because back in the day, I do remember a few of these kind of 9.0 grades, so admittedly a little bit higher grade, that sold for big money. I'm talking over $300, but this one sold for $100 in an auction on March 15th, 3 bids plus $26.95 shipping. So let's call it about $130. But for an uncirculated 8.5 original issue orange line, that's not a bad deal at all if you can live with the 8.5 score. Because I do specifically remember some of these going for big money. I think that one kind of just fell through the cracks for a lot of folks because I think it's probably worth quite a bit more than that one. Next up, this is an interesting Entertainment Earth exclusive Order 66. So this has got all the different clone troopers in different colors, blue, red, yellow, and green. This was an uncirculated 8.5 Entertainment Earth exclusive. I bet this is a pretty big box, though. You'd have to have a lot of display space for this one. This was sold by Bounty Hunters Guild. I'm friends with the owner of Bounty Hunters Guild. He always does a great job. He hasn't been as active lately, but he had a number of these. He sent in a whole sealed case of these Entertainment Earth exclusives. So this one came back with an 8.5 uncirculated, and that one sold for $408 free shipping. So pretty good buy on that one. These are a number of these 40th anniversary. Now, there's 2 different versions, right? So this one says in the AFA label, lowercase age text. And that's referring to the top of the card there where it says age, idadi, 4+. You can see where the age is in lowercase. So this is the second issue, the second run, production run of these 40th anniversary Black Series. And this Darth Vader was an uncirculated 9.0. And I had the original issue this at one point. I had the whole first run, and I had to sell them off just because I had no space. But this one sold for $115. I thought that was a pretty good buy, given that it probably costs you about $75 or $80 minimum to grade one of these. But anyway, those have definitely gone down in price. Likewise, just like the SDCC Boba Fett's, these oversized card backs are just tough to display if you don't have the display space. The first thing that collectors will offload are some of these 40th anniversary with the oversized cards just because they're so big. But $115 free shipping, took that one home. Here is another one that has also dropped in price. I had 2 of these at one point. This is the Star Wars Celebration from 2017 exclusive. Luke Skywalker in his X-Wing pilot. This is a foil oversized card again. I had 2 of these in an 8.5 grade. And I think I sold mine for about $180, $200. And they have dropped in price again. This one sold for $127.50 on 5 bids, plus $26.95 shipping. And likewise, in a 9.0, these used to command almost $400, believe it or not. So it's, for whatever reason, those oversized card backs graded in an 8.5 do not hold their value. They've all come back down in price just a little bit, especially the SDCC exclusive. I would think that those would hold their value the best, but this one and the Boba Fett have both kind of come way down in price. Next up, on the opposite end of the spectrum are the Black Series Mandos. This is the regular black and red packaging, and this was an uncirculated 9.0. And this one, for whatever reason, continues to go up in price. This one sold for $325, which to me, I'd rather have, if I'm going to spend that kind of money, I'd rather have the first edition white box, but admittedly, it was a higher grade. It was a 9.0 uncirculated. So $325 took that one home. That's a big price. And then here was an 8.5. This one sold for $350. So this one actually sold for more, $370 after accounting for shipping. So this was an 8.5 grade versus that sold for $370 versus a 9.0 uncirculated that sold for $325. So big prices for that red and black box Mandalorian. I call this kind of the second edition, given that the white box is considered the first edition. But those were some pretty eye-popping prices there. This is another one that has really jumped. So I guess the Mandalorian in general holds its value when it comes to the Black Series, because this is the second credit collection Black Series. This one was an Amazon exclusive. This is the second version that came out kind of in that second wave that had the Beskar armor with kind of lots of wonky colors. It was an uncirculated 9.0, which is tough to do for an Amazon exclusive. I mean, Amazon, that means you somehow had to get your hands on a sealed Amazon case of these credit collection. And, you know, I've got this one in my collection graded 90 or 90 plus. I can't remember, but the colors on it are a little wacky, or a little bit wacky. You got a purple gauntlet. You got some red on the knee pads. So it's definitely all over the map, but it does look really cool graded. I'll say that. But this one sold for $187 plus $10 shipping. So almost $200 for an uncirculated 9.0 second edition Amazon credit collection. And then finally, I had to show this one. This is the only prototype that I could find on eBay that sold recently, but this is a 2016 prototype Luke Skywalker Farm Boy. It's labeled a Type A prototype, whatever that means, but it was in the U.S. And, you know, the risk for some of those Chinese sellers that, you know, that maybe they're factory workers that have some of these prototypes is that you'll never get it. You know, it just takes so long to ship from Hong Kong. But if they're in the U.S., they do command a pretty good amount of money. Now, it was originally listed for $1,000. It says sold $900, but on the previous page, it said $900 best offer accepted. I did try to look it up on 130point.com to confirm the sales price, but it was not pulling up. But anyway, it says sold for $900, but it was a number below that. But pretty awesome colors for this prototype. Lots of non-factory colors, lots of reds, yellows, blacks. So very, very cool. It even has the utility belt around his waist there that's in blue. And he's got blue footsies. So a pretty cool prototype. And these do show up, like I said, over in Hong Kong and in China and things like that. But you're running the risk that you don't actually get the item. So anytime there's one in the U.S., this one was in Alaska, you could expect to pay a little bit more of a premium there because you're much more likely to get the item. But $900, best offer accepted on that Black Series prototype from 2016. Anyway, we just hadn't looked at the Black Series in a while, and I wanted to kind of show you guys a few recent sales. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.